The Ninku unit were a powerful team of ninjas that almost destroyed the Imperial Army. Even though the Imperial Army won the war, they weren't done yet. Fearing the power of the Ninku, the Imperial Army are now set to find and destroy any remaining Ninku. Join Fusuke and his friends as they go on a journey to stop the Imperial Army. Ninku is a Shonen Jump manga that was released around 1993. A few years later, it would get its own anime that ran for 55 episodes, and 2 movies with one of them having an English dub. Funny enough, I found out about the series through Jump Ultimate Stars, since Fusuke happens to be one of my mains in that game. Now, I myself enjoyed the anime a lot. I wouldn't call it one of the best, but I think it's pretty good for what it is. Which is a shame since I've had a very difficult time finding anything on the Ninku series as a whole, whether it be the anime itself or even the games that spawned from it. Speaking of video games, Ninku would get several of them. We'll specifically go over the ones that were released on the Sega consoles. These include 3 Game Gear games released in 1995, and a Sega Saturn game released in 1996. First there's Ninku 1, a story-based fighting game with RPG mechanics. Ninku 2, a sequel that ditches all RPG mechanics and made drastic changes to the fighting itself. Ninku Gaiden Hiroyuki Daikatsugeki, a spin-off puzzle game that takes place years before the events of the anime. And of course, Ninku Tsuyokina Yatsura no Daigekitotsu, a fighting game that uses 3D backgrounds along with 2D sprites. Being that I'm going over all 4 of these games and playing through them, this is gonna take quite a while. How about we start with the worst one? Really? Worse than Game Gear games? Okay, well, let's give it a fair chance first. Ninku on the Sega Saturn is a rather unfortunate case. By this point, there were already a lot of good fighting games, so if you decided to buy this one and you were expecting this to stand alongside those gems, you'd be disappointed. The game only has 8 characters, there's no story or endings for anyone, and most importantly, the gameplay is bare bones. Many of the gameplay aspects give me the feeling that the developers were scared to make a fighting game. No combos on the ground since you can block during hit stun, grabs not working at all against crouching opponents, and then you have the super special moves that are locked behind a meter. And by super, I mean they might be worse than the moves you already have access to. At the very least, this game does have an interesting look. It is cool to see sprites fighting in a 3D environment and the characters look accurate to their anime counterparts. The fighting itself is still questionable, but it does have some interesting mechanics to mess around with. Of course, I can't go over them yet without going over the controls first. A is light punch, B is strong punch, C is kick, and pressing L and R at the same time will make your character taunt. If you go to the options and set your controls to beginner, the X, Y, and Z buttons will perform certain special moves instantly. Ninku Tsuyokina Yatsura no Daigekitotsu is the most straightforward of the Ninku games. Defeat all 8 characters in order to see the credits. There are no endings, secrets, or even a different reward for playing through the game on any difficulty. As for the fighting itself, let's start with basic offense first. The main 3 buttons will perform normal attacks. They can change depending on how close you are to the opponent, which are called proximity normals. Everyone can perform a basic grab by pressing forward plus light punch while close. These can have a ridiculous range, but as mentioned earlier, they won't happen against a crouching opponent. You can dash back by pressing back twice, and you can dash forward by pressing forward twice. All characters except Aicho can perform a dash attack by pressing heavy punch during the animation. Of course, you can perform special moves as well. You will be able to perform 3 of them instantly with the beginner controls, otherwise you will have to do them manually by doing a motion along with a button. Most of them will deal chip damage if blocked. Some are command grabs, but similar to regular grabs, they won't work against a crouching opponent. Now to go over the most interesting part about this game, which is the special meter. This meter will fill up when you perform special moves, hit the opponent, and when you taunt. When it's full, it will slowly go down and you gain access to super special moves. These will drain a certain amount of your meter when performed. Keep in mind that you can only perform these moves while the meter is draining, not while you're building up your meter. Lastly, I do have to mention the joke moves. These are similar to special moves, except they don't deal a lot of damage. However, they lower the opponent's special meter even if blocked. When you get full meter, you gain access to a super joke move that will completely drain the opponent's meter. There are some really screwed up aspects in terms of balance, but I'll go over that during the long play. If you want an in-depth guide that contains a complete move list, you can check out the link in the description below.
帝国軍を壊滅寸前にまで追い詰めた集団があった。その名は人空隊。かろうじて戦争に勝利した帝国府は彼らの力を恐れ討伐に乗り出した。今本当の人空を知る者は少ない。
Alright, and this is my long play of Ninku for the Sega Saturn. So, for the case of all of these playthroughs, I am commentating over runs that I already did, and the first thing you see me do is go to the options. Now, I already mentioned that the difficulty doesn't matter. You can play it on easy, normal, hard, set the time limit or rounds, or even the controls to whatever you want, and the ending will be the same. So I'm gonna set it to hard. Not that the game is really that hard to begin with if you know what you're doing. And yeah, I'll explain that throughout the long play, so let's get into it. Alright, so you have 8 characters here. Honestly, I think only one of them matters, but I might as well go over each of them. So, starting with Fusuke, the rat ninja Fusuke, I should say. He uses wind techniques. Aicho, the rooster ninja, he uses techniques involving the sky. Toji, the snake ninja, he uses ground techniques. Sekirai, the dragon ninja, he is capable of using flame techniques. Ajirada, he is one of the 3 generals, he uses lightning-based attacks. Colonel Basara, also known as Ice Ninja Kasumi, he uses ice techniques, obviously. You got Mekira, one of the other 3 generals, she uses techniques based off illusion, kinda. And of course the big bad himself, Archbishop Kochin, but I can't say too much about him without spoiling the anime, because that's like around the end, so I can't get into that. Anyways, the only character that matters is Aicho. Anyone that's seen the first to 5 set that I did recently would know how broken he is. I will go over each of these characters throughout the long play. Oh, by the way, Kai, if you're watching this, we will run it back. I'm not joking. Alright, but anyways, that aside. So, Aicho, really strong character. If you haven't seen this set, then I might as well explain why. So, I already mentioned the gameplay aspects, the controls, how attacks work and all that. So the thing with Aicho, as you expect from someone who has like sky-based techniques, a lot of his attacks require him to jump, like that move right there, which is, to do that move, you either press forward A, down forward A, or up forward A, like it will change the direction he goes in. Now the joke move, which is similar, it's down forward, I think it's down C or down forward C. And it's a 2-hit move. The first hit's unblockable. No, the first hit's a high and the second hit's a low. But because you can't really switch blocking from standing to crouching in time, it's technically an unblockable, so you just have to hold that once it hits. The only exception is if he does it really high in the sky. And yeah, when he has full meter, he can do that air move up to 4 times in a row, which is really cool. It also deals more damage as well. And that's a super joke move. It's only the second hit drains all of their meter. I don't think the first hit does. It's pretty good. It's nowhere near as broken as his regular joke move, which is kind of funny. And yeah, he has, actually, before I go over him, I might as well mention Ajirada. I think he's good. He has a pretty good overhead that deals a good amount of damage and knocks down. Something that the CPU didn't get to do with Ajirada is that his super joke move, he pulls out a raincoat and he makes it like rain. I forgot what it was called, but like it's like poison or whatever. And it's in the rain move, which unfortunately the CPU didn't get to do. I probably should let them do it. It takes away all of his meter, but in advance, like the upsides is that it hits full screen, it's unblockable, and it ignores invisibility frames, which is kind of ridiculous. And it drains, and of course, since it's a super joke move, it drains all of their meters. So I think that move alone makes him pretty dang good, but he does need a full meter to do so. And if he's facing Aicho, that's kind of hard to do when Aicho has the unblockable joke move that's constantly draining meter. So yeah, that's that nonsense. And another thing about Aicho, I should mention throughout this long play, I did lose a round or two. I didn't lose a match, but because I was trying really hard to refrain from doing a certain loop that you see happen later throughout the long play. Because if there's one thing Aicho has, it's an unblockable headbutt. This is... Wait, hold on. Maybe... Alright, give me 1 sec. Hold up. Because I actually have the manual to this game, and I want to see if the game considers this a drill. And let me check. No, it doesn't. So it's just a move. Wow. Okay, that's weird. So, because the thing about this, the manual does have a move list. I'll probably like show a picture of it right now. Hopefully I don't forget. And I could be wrong. Maybe I have to recheck it again. But like, there are some moves listed here that are, whatchamacallit, they're considered a throw, but they don't actually throw. Does that make sense? I don't know. Anyways, Aicho has a headbutt. It's back plus B, and it's unblockable. It's just unblockable, and unless you're Fusuke, you can't duck under it. Like, it just hits you. And the main problem I have with this, which is the loop you're gonna see later, there are invincible moves, kinda. In fact, Aicho has one of them. It's a charge motion. You hold down and press up C. You'll see that happen later if I didn't already do it. And it's just like, how can I say this? It's very, I don't know if it's invincible frame 1. Like, it definitely has some kind of invincibility, like frame 3 or after maybe, but like, it seems that when it comes to DPs in this game, you can just hit the opponent out of it if they do it on wake up. It's very strange. I didn't even get to mention Mekura. I was so distracted by Aicho's like nonsense. Mekura is kind of, she's shit. I mean, she has a good walk speed, some decent range on her normal attacks, but also she's the only character where I think when you press heavy punch, she instead does a kick. And even the manual mentions that, which is pretty cool. But yeah, like, she just sucks. But like, is this her moves don't combo? They don't work for this game. I don't know how else to explain her. She does have a funny super joke move, but it doesn't drain off the opponent's meter since you can block in between the hits. Like, it's a 2-hit move, a 2-hit full screen low, I should say. But it's trash. You can just block in between it, and then she's like, I think she's open after. So that's Mekura. Basara, aka Kasumi. I think he's good. He's pretty much the main zoner of this game. I think that goes to Kochin though. But both of them are pretty good zoners. Kasumi, he just did it right there too. He has a air projectile. I think it's quarter circle back, and I think A or B while midair. And it goes like at an angle, so it can even hit like crouchers, depending on how you time it. I think you can Tiger Knee it too. He has that DP that you just saw. I don't think it's invincible frame 1, so I can't say how true it is. And he does have a really strong command grab. I think I get hit by it here too. But again, the problem with like grabs is that you can just duck them. So it's like, if you hold down back, the opponent really can't do anything to open you up. And I think that's one of the biggest problems I have with this game, is that like, outside of unblockables, which is the main way of like, it's the reason why I kept losing in this set, because like, I know the answer is okay, I'll just down back, but you know, you can't block unblockables, so there's just nothing I can do about that. So yeah, you can just down back, like crouch block, just a lot of stuff in this game, and I don't know, it's just, I'll talk about how I feel about all of these games at the end. I'm not gonna like harp on this one too much. I don't think it's awful, that's for sure. It's definitely not for me. I think that's the best way I can say it. Maybe I'm being too kind. But Kasumi, that's about it. He's just a zoner. He has a lot of moves that involve making ice fall from above you. Some of them even I think 2 different joke moves that act the same, where it's the same move, like this, and ice falls above you but in a different shape, and it drains your meter on hit. And his super joke move is pretty dang good. It's the same thing, something falls above you, it's a piano, but it's much faster, and since it's above, it's an overhead. So pretty much what he has is a really fast overhead that drains all of your meter and actually does decent damage. Like, it's not bad. Whereas like, for example, Fusuke has something similar that, you know, drains all your meter overhead, but it's very, very slow, and the damage is kind of bad. Oh look, the Aicho mirror. I can't wait to talk about him again. Nah, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I don't have a lot to say about this game because it's just very bare bones. There's not a lot of cool stuff you can do in it. The moves you can do are kind of cool and interesting. Like, as stupid as the unblockable headbutt is, it's funny that it's just there. You can just do it. You can just do it like that as a counter hit. And now that I think about it, I remember when I played this set against someone else, like the headbutt. Maybe it's a hitbox. You see, I gotta test it. There's so much to test in this game. Maybe it's a hitbox issue. I don't know, where like certain moves just whiff through the headbutt, or certain moves just get like the headbutt has so much priority that it just outbeats other moves. I don't know. This game is like, it's not a complete mystery. The idea is simple. The gameplay is simple for that matter. But like, geez, man, I don't know what they were thinking with this one. At least from a gameplay aspect. I still think that aesthetically, this game looks pretty cool. I can always dig like animated sprites with a good amount of size to them, and like a 3D background. I think that looks alright. It depends on how it's done. I don't know what game I'm thinking of that like did something similar, like on a, maybe it was a Saturn or the PS1, maybe it was a 3DO, but like I remember hating that game, and again, I don't remember the name of it. I don't think, was it Yu Yu Hakusho on 3DO? CDI? I don't remember. I really don't. But yeah, that's enough of my rambling. Let me get back to this game. Alright, so who's left? So we're pretty much at the halfway point. There's only Toji, which is who we're fighting right now, Sekirai, Fusuke, and Kochin that is left. So Toji, I like his idea. It's a character that excelled at playing at a mid-range. Like, he has a pretty good projectile. He has a really, really long pokes that unfortunately extends his hurt box, so I can't say how good they are. Yeah, like that projectile is pretty good. I like it a lot. I think up close it actually hits twice, which is pretty cool. Yeah, you can see that I'm just abusing the headbutt a lot. I don't know why you would do anything else, but yeah. And the reason why you see me doing the regular move a lot is because like that version of some of the joke move version is when you have full meter. You know, I already mentioned you can do it up to four more times, but it also deals more damage. Like, it gets enhanced, so it does a lot of damage. It makes this game go by quicker because I'm gonna be honest, I did not want to play this game for long. Again, not because it's bad. It's just like, you know, I'm gonna be real. It's boring. All right. This game's for me personally, this game is kind of boring, especially against the CPU. Which, yeah, it's a fighting game, so they aren't meant for the CPUs. I've said this 100 times by now. But like, there's just like, at least with, you know, I think of games like, even games that came out before, even Fist for the Sega Saturn, like, at least I can pull off some cool combos, show off some cool stuff and all that. In this game, all I'm showing is the same exact thing. I'm just doing unblockable, sky soaring fist over and over and over. It's like, it works, but it's not interesting. It's not fun. If you have fun doing that, cool, great. I'm glad you do. I don't. That's the point I'm trying to make here. And if you have fun with that, then man, wait till you do some combos. But yeah, I don't know. I wasn't having a lot of fun with this game. I was just trying to get over it as fast as I can. So right here, you can see that I was actually trying to do the headbutt loop. I keep mistiming it because the characters, each character's wake up timing is a bit different. Sometimes, I think Kochin in particular actually goes forward when he wakes up. Oh, I actually landed that move. So my theory with Aicho, and I think I'm gonna, if I do get to run back that set, I'm gonna test this. My theory is that he can just headbutt loop you as you're getting up, and because DPs aren't really invincible, like frame 1 or whatever, if he does it as a meaty, I think the game is just over. Again, it's just a theory. I haven't tested this out yet as of this recording. I might actually test that out after this. But if he can do that, then man, why would you pick anyone else? Like, why? Now, my other theory is that, like, the reason why I want to play this game against someone else again, I should say this dude. What am I thinking about? I feel like Aicho can only do that when he gets in. And I think as Kisumi or Kochin, maybe, just maybe, they can keep him out. Maybe. But I feel like once he gets in, the match might be over. Like, there's still a few more things I want to test about this game. As much as, like, I'm not really a big fan of it, which sucks because I actually do like the anime, but this game's kind of boring. Sekirai, he is he's actually I don't have much to say about him. He's just like, he's a safe character. He has a DP, quote unquote. He has a pretty good mid-range poke with his fire, and a weird Tatsu that I don't think it's safe on hit. I should say on block. So that move is his own can of worms. I don't know, but he's all right. He's not the his joke moves is definitely on the weak side. They're not very good. The startup is just way too slow. His regular one alone, where he just sleeps like while standing, it barely has any range. I don't know why you use it. And his super joke move is it's too slow, like startup wise. So really, you only do it to like lower their meter on a block, not to like try to hit them with it. I don't know. It'd have to be like a hard punish or something. All right, and Fusuke, the main character of the show, he is similar to Sekirai. Actually, he is decent. He has everything but like a projectile, pretty much. I said pretty much so many times, jeez. But yeah, he has a DP. He had, again, it might not be real. I don't think it is. He has another move. I think it's called Kuatsen. Air pressure palm or air pressure fist, if I'm not mistaken. He goes forward with like the Rasengan. I should mention that this show, at least the Ninku series, like the manga or the anime, it did inspire I think it inspired the creator of Naruto. I could be wrong on that. I mean, both Fusuke and Naruto himself have like a Rasengan-like move, which is pretty cool. But yeah, he has that move. He just did it right there. He has another special move that's absolutely garbage. I forgot the name of it, but it's trash. I never use it. And his super special move, when he has full meter, is weird. One of them is an anti-air, because if you block it on the ground, if you get hit by it on the ground, you can just block the hits after, which is kind of stupid, because you know, you can block during hits, and how fun. And his other move, when he summons a dragon, it has a bunch of iframes. I think it might be the only like truly invincible move in the game, but the startup is so freaking slow that no one, like, unless they're like, yeah, like, I don't know how you're supposed to, what the heck happened there? I don't know how you're supposed to get hit by that in like a regular match. Like, how you supposed to hit that move? Okay, obviously I got hit right there by like jumping up. But my point is that like, the startup is just way too slow, and like, it doesn't warrant the invincibility, in my opinion. And yet, that was the unblockable. There was nothing you can do about that after blocking the first hit. I wonder if can you DP in between that? I doubt it, because again, DPs aren't even frame 1, so I thought that would work. Alright, and coming up is the final battle of the game, which is Kochin. He will always, from the few playthroughs I did, he always seems to be the final boss. Like, even if I pick, unless maybe if you have to pick one of the bad guys, and then maybe you just get Fusuke instead, but yeah, only 8 characters. There are no like secret final boss or like some hidden bonus. So from what I know, this is always the final stage of the game. And yeah, Kochin, he's the other zoner, like compared to like Kitsumi. I think he might be pretty dang good. I'd have to put more time into him to make sure. Like, he has a good projectile. He can also do this projectile mid-air, which is one of the reasons why I think he can counter Aicho. Also, you saw right there earlier that like when I did the joke move, he was able to, Kochin was able to block it because I did it too far away, like too high of an altitude. But yeah, like Kochin has that move, the one where he throws the orb and he makes this like giant pillar. I think that move's pretty cool. It might be one of the things he like. I feel like in a real match that might be really useful, especially on the opponent's wake up. I still want to test that out a bit more. But yeah, he just seems like a solid zoner. Maybe he might have some Oki if that exists in this game. I doubt it. Just some freaking like guesswork. I lost there, but it's fine. I still have like 2 unblockables that he can do nothing about. So yeah, another thing I should mention. I chose a joke move. It does leave him open because he shakes his head after doing it. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it hits twice, even though the first hit knocks down. I don't know how that happens. Maybe it's because like he hits them during a jump. Like, man, there's so much to like. Even though I already made a guide on this, I still feel like there's a lot more to discover. And yeah, that's a Coachin's super joke move. He turns you into a chibi version, which is pretty funny. I don't think I've seen all of the characters yet, but yeah, it's just like literally it's not like what's that character's name from JoJo, Alessi? He doesn't turn you to a younger version, just literally a chibi version. So yeah, that's that. That's one round there, and then one more round to go. Almost off the game. It's definitely one of the shorter games I've played. It might be the shortest game of the other 3 Longplays. I swear. Oh man, Ninku 1, that game's I'm gonna be commentating that one for quite a while. There's so much to. Well, really, there's not a lot to explain to that one. The game is just really long, that's all. Okay, you saw that I actually did I chose ZP, it's pretty good. But again, there's not much point to doing it when you have an unblockable headbutt. My problem with the move is that it's fast. It's like, is this an excuse for me to mention Beast Wrestler? That freaking Federico's headbutt is just super fast in a game with no blocking. That's what it reminds me of. Maybe not as obnoxious though. Alright, but yeah, there's not much else for me to say. At this point, I'm just waiting for the finishing blow to happen. Now I just need one more hit. I'm probably going to do the unblockable. Yep, and that is it. That is Ninku for the Sega Saturn. I mean, you can play it. It's not gonna hurt anyone. Like, it's not the worst game I ever played or anything like that. I wouldn't call it bad, but it's 1996. There were so many better options out there. But yeah, next up will be Ninku 1 for the Game Gear. I'm gonna let the credits play out first, and I'll see you then. Ninku 1 on the Game Gear stands out from the other 2 fighting games. Not only does it have more cutscenes than the other 2, but also has some interesting RPG mechanics, random encounters, and even choices that will have a huge impact on the story. As for the fighting, it's definitely the weakest. it does have some cool and interesting mechanics, but they fall flat since the game has no combos and the special meter is handled even worse than the Sega Saturn game. Don't know what I'm talking about? I'll tell you after we go over the map screen. Ninku 1 is an RPG/fighting game where you must get through the main story in order to finish the game. You will start as Fusuke, but you will find Aicho and Toji along the way. The top left of the screen shows your money and food. Food is used to recover health each step, while money is used to fully recover at the towns. You can enter a town by pressing button 2 while you're on one. As for the character portraits, they show the character's health, level, and experience. A red circle means they have full health. When they don't, they'll consume food every time you move on the world map. The character's level will affect their attack, defense, and the amount of special meter they start with. The number below represents the current amount of experience. The character will level up when this reaches 10. On the map screen, the red dot represents where you need to go next. As you move around the map, there's a chance you will trigger a random encounter or event. Some can be beneficial, such as finding Toji's plane and using it to zip across the map, while others can be risky, such as a chance to level up or level down your character. As for the random encounters, you can bump into guards or bandits that will grant experience to the character that defeats them. They can also drop food and coins upon defeating them. You can attempt to run from them if you want, but it won't always work. Finally, I can explain the fighting. Button 1 is punch, button 2 is kick, and holding both buttons will charge meter. You can dash by pressing forward or back twice. These can be very useful for getting out of the corners since you can dash through your opponent in this game. You can throw opponents by pressing forward plus button 1, and you can perform a substitution jutsu by blocking a bullet. Now, what about the special meter? You see, all of your special moves are locked behind this meter, with each color representing a move. The green meter will unlock the first special move, the orange will unlock the second, the blue will unlock the third, and the hidden purple meter will unlock your super move. So if I charge the meter until the green bar is full, I can perform Fusuke's air shuriken by pressing down forward punch. When it comes to super moves, it will completely drain the purple meter when you use them. That means you have to charge it to full again in order to use a super move again. Pretty simple, right? Yeah, it doesn't end there. You see, the health bar also plays a role in the special meter. For however amount of health you're missing, it adds to the special meter. So if you're missing half of your health, it will add to the special meter despite not showing it. For example, if you're at half health and your green meter is half full, you will have access to your first move since the missing health adds to the meter. It's a good time for me to mention that there is no chip damage in this game, so most of the time you're just gonna have to hope that the CPU doesn't block your moves. With all of that said, I think we should start the long play. If you want an in-depth guide that has a move list and goes over the story, you can check out the link in the description below. Alright, and this is Ninku 1 for the Game Gear. Now, I should mention that I'm not going to commentate throughout the entire game because the original recording of this took an hour and 40 minutes, and I had to edit down all of the grinding I did and the random encounters in order to make this I think it's about an hour long. But yeah, it's a really long game, and there's really not much to go over since the game is kind of repetitive, but I'll at least try to mention the story and all that. So this introduction is similar to the one I mentioned in the intro of this video. The Ninku were at war with the Imperial Army. The Imperial Army won, and they said, okay, we're not done yet. The Ninku are pretty strong, so let's try to find any remaining Ninku and kill them. And that's what the army is trying to do right now. And Fusuke, who is, I think he's the first captain of the Ninku division unit, he is on a journey to stop the Imperial Army, which is weird because, I mean, I could be wrong, but there's no mention of Fusuke's mother in this game. Whereas in the anime, that's one of the first things you see. And, yeah, this game is pretty much a loose, interpretation of the anime. It's not a one-for-one, but it is very, very similar. With some, differences, of course. So this intro cutscene is just gonna start with Fusuke and his, penguin friend Hiroyuki. And they'll stumble upon a girl who gives them 10 food, which is going to be used to heal our health after each battle. And then after that, we are going to go meet her at the town, which is the first objective. So this is the world map, and I already mentioned it, the stats on the left. You got the red circle is your health, the letter is your level, and the number under it is your experience. Now, when you press start and select the bottom option, you would get like a recap. I think it's like what happened just now, or what you have to do next. And if you pick the top option, you would get a password. Yep, there it is. And yeah, with that, we just gotta go to the first objective, which is the trees over there. Now again, I should mention this game is very, very redundant. I know right here I just go to the town just to show that you can't spend 5 coins to heal up. This would be especially useful when you get all 3 characters, because like, let's say all of them's at low HP. Every time you walk, they will actually start like, because it's 3 characters, they use 3, like you lose 3 food per step. So healing at the towns can be very helpful, especially if you're like grinding near the town and you just want to like use up your coins instead of using up your food. So when you arrive at the town, you'll find out that 2 girls are missing, one of them being the one that you just met. And now we gotta go save them. And now for our first random encounter. I'm going to mention right away that I would not be, after this random encounter, I would not be showing the rest. You will, I did edit the video in a way that it does like fade in and out after each one. But like, yeah, this game is just really, really long. And even though, oh wow, actually the substitution there, that's really cool. So you can see me charging up. When you get your green meter full, you get air shuriken, which is quarter circle forward with punch, just down forward. And then at level 2, which is the orange meter, you get the pressure fist, I think it's called. And that is down back punch, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty good move. Well, it's alright. And at blue meter, you get the whirlwind, which is I think that's down forward and B, if I'm not mistaken. Well, I said B. I should say button 2. I'm thinking of like the Sega Genesis controller. But yeah, that move's alright. Again, I still think the best move is the air shuriken because because of how the AI works. I'll get into that in a bit. Now, when you have purple meter, you can do, I think it's forward, down, back 2, and you get that desperation move right there. Now, the reason why I prefer air shuriken is because you don't want to be close to the CPU all the time. They don't, I mentioned this I'm pretty sure I mentioned this in like the introduction for this game in particular, where like, you kind of have to hope the CPU stops blocking in order to land damage, because there's no chip damage in this game. So it's just a matter of you either gotta hope they don't block, or you have to go in and like draw them. Like that's the only way to deal damage consistently, at least. So yeah, this story cutscene, you're just like defeating the bandits in order to save the girls. Pretty simple. And from here, this is where like I can't really say a whole lot more for this game, because like outside of like when we see like the few bosses this game has to offer, the story segments, and the 2 characters that we haven't unlocked yet, there's not a lot for me to say here. The game gets it. Oh my god, there's one part I really want to talk about. This part right now, I really do, but you know, I'll just mention it now. So there's a part in this game that we're not up to yet, it's much later, where the enemies just like, I don't know what they did, but like the enemies just have a huge level difference between, like, there's a huge level difference between you and the enemy, and like the game won't proceed until you actually beat them. And it's like, I think I had to grind for like an hour, maybe half an hour, an hour, and I just said screw it, I'm gonna just reset and use a password I got from like a previous playthrough, like just to skip the grinding, because I didn't. Because the point I'm trying to make is that even though this long play the original time was an hour and 40 minutes long, it's actually much longer if I didn't have the password from my old playthrough to skip the grinding, which was, this playthrough might have been like 3 hours maybe. Anyways, we saved both girls. One of them is named Ryoko, and she's actually the sister of Toji, the snake ninja, who we'll bump into a bit later. And yeah, from here you see me like skip the random encounters. I think I do show off one of them because it had like an interesting gimmick, but other than that, yeah, I will be skipping most of them. Alright, as I was saying, if I didn't use the password from my previous playthrough to skip a certain grinding part, this full playthrough would have been like 3, maybe even 4 hours. Like, just 3 hours of this like same combat over and over, and oh man. Again, it's not bad. I don't think this game's bad. It overstays its welcome when it gets to that point. That's what I'm trying to say. Now in this story segment, I think they get a clue on where to find Aicho, so that's where we're going to head to next in order to save him. And that is where we will also be able to get him in our party. So that's the next objective, and yeah, from here I might just like... Well, actually, I'll do it after the next story segment. I'll probably just go on mute or something, because some of these fights are really long, and it's not like the interesting kind of fights where you're facing someone unique. You're still facing guards and bandits over and over again, so like there's really not much I can comment on without already sounding like redundant. Now when you do get to the story segment, you get an option here. I don't think it matters that much, so I'll just put yes. And I'm pretty sure I have to face, yeah, just a few soldiers here. So I think it's 2 soldiers you have to face. Pretty easy. I should mention that my strat for this was to just stick with air shuriken and to throw them. Like I go in with a jump kick and then I either mash punch or just try to throw them. And really air shuriken's all you need, with the exception of maybe a boss or 2 where the super would be very useful if you can build up your meter to it. Anyways, there is Aicho. So we will get him on our team after we do beat the story segment, though there is one more fight we have to do. Because if you do lose at any point in this segment, you have to do this part all over again, like with the 2 guards that's Fusuke. And you can see that Aicho starts at level C, which is pretty cool. And Fusuke should level up after this. So I'm pretty sure it's 1 guard first, and then... Yep, here we go. So after that 1 guard, you will now have to face, like, I think about 10 to 15 guards. Yeah, and you're forced to use Aicho for the first 5, if I'm not mistaken. Now, Aicho's moveset, I don't think it's as good. He does have a pretty fast kick, which isn't bad. Now, when he has his green bar full, he can do the Sky Soaring Fist. I think it's down back button 2, which is that move right there where he jumps up and goes down. And at level 2, which is an orange meter, he gets a grounded version of that move. So I think you see me do the first one here. That's the level 1 version. And then there's the grounded version where he goes forward. What? Whoa. Okay. I don't remember that happening. But, wow. That threw me off. Okay, so at level 3, he gets the leap attack you just saw. It's pretty good. And at level 4, he gets that move, which is the air pressure soaring fist. Pretty good. Does a lot of damage. It does have slow startup, but if it does hit, it is pretty damaging. Alright, and yep, it's getting to that point where like I don't have that much else to say, because the game is just really... Oh, actually, they ended the super there. The game is just really repetitive. Like, it's not a bad... I don't think... The fighting itself, again, it's not bad. It's just like... Imagine doing... Like, when I played this for the... I should mention, for this playthrough, when I played it for the first 30 minutes, it was fine. I was having a good time. But, like, as it got longer and longer, I started to wonder, man, I really can't wait to stop playing this game, because it just... I think it really is one of those games where, like, it's not as, like, tedious if you use the password system, because, you know, you're taking a break from it every now and then. You're not, like, playing it, like, from start to finish in one go. But because I was playing it from start to finish in one go, it was just like, it was getting very exhausting. Not in like a hard way, like the game's difficult. I think I lost 3 times. I'll probably like I'll skip to those game over screens when you see that. Without showing no, I will I'll show who I lost to. But actually you don't even need to know, because it will show up anyway, so you already know who it is. But yeah, even though I lost 3 times, like, the game really isn't that hard, especially if I went out of my way to do a ton of grinding, which I really don't want to do, because, again, that just means I'm playing this game for even longer. So yeah, that's my advice, really. If you are struggling with this game, you can just keep grinding over and over until you stop struggling, because then, at that point, you have plenty of defense, plenty of attack, and you'll be winning much faster. Anyways, you just saved Aicho, and next up we have to go to the town on the bottom left. Now there are plenty of different events in this game. There's an event where, like, you know, you chance to level up or level down your character. There's a chance where event where you're facing someone who's invisible, and the only way to see them is by like charging up your meter, and then they'll appear for that brief moment, which is pretty cool. And there's also like an event where you see Toji's plane and you just like ride it and like go to a new location. There's a lot of cool events, but for the most part, it's just random encounters where you just have to do a fight, or you can choose to run. The reason why I don't run is because like you have to do them. You have to, because I'm not joking when I say that the enemies later on get really high stats, and you have to be on like a high level to be on equal footing with them. So that's why for this playthrough I didn't really run from any of the fights, because like I knew I was gonna need the experience either way. And yeah, that event right there, it lowers my HP to 1, so that's really fun. And now I'm forced to use food again. Of course, I think I could have just went to the town, but the thing is, as useful as the towns are for like grinding experience, like for example, actually before I go over that, this part you can actually use up your coins to get food. So like, if for example, if you have 10 coins, you can pick the bottom option, and like the conversion rate is like 2-1. So if you give them 10 coins, you would get 5 food. Like that's how it works. All right, so yeah, just another random encounter. And in this part, we are now on our way to find Toji. Thankfully, we got some more food from that. Another freaking event. I wonder what this one is. Oh, nope, this is the one where... Oh my goodness. Yep, I chose health as that one, so I decided to take a few steps around the story stage in order to like heal him up with the food. And yeah, now I decided to do it. So in this part, I get to go over Toji. It turns out that for the story of this part, I don't know if it's just like the anime where like he was incognito, like he was with the Imperial Army because he was trying to get information from them, and then once he found out about the 3 generals, that's when like he broke his disguise and started fighting back. I should say he started fighting them instead. So yeah, for this part, it's time to fight more guards. And let me just check my notes real quick. Give me 1 second. Yep, it is exactly what I think. You gotta face 6 guards as Fusuke, 6 guards as Aicho, and 6 guards as Toji. It is... The whole game's like this. The whole game is like this. There's only like... Wait, there's like 1, 2, 3... like 4 main story events where it's not like this, where you're facing like different opponents that aren't guards and bandits. Again, it's fine for the first like 10 to 30 minutes, but it gets redundant, especially when you have to grind. And especially when the gameplay is like this. Like, if this was a game that like felt really fun to play, there was a lot of cool stuff you can do, like some kind of like some insane combo system or like some cool mechanics and all that. Like, I don't mind grinding in those kind of games. I've played like I think I've played plenty of fighting games that are like that. But because this one is like, you know, it's on a Game Gear, there's only so much they can do, and it's like limited. Like, it gets redundant fast, at least for me. And I hope this doesn't come off as me like complaining. I'm not saying the game is bad. It's just more like, I really do remember wondering like, by the time I got halfway through the game, man, when is this game going to be over? Like, I don't want to keep playing this. Like, I was actually considering, like, taking a break, like, after I got to the halfway point, and then, like, saving the password, like, writing it down or whatever, and then, like, coming back to, like, record the playthrough and going right back from the password I started at. In fact, again, there is a moment where I do that in this playthrough. You'll see that later. Because there's one, again, that one section in particular, oh my goodness. I can't wait to like, well, again, there's really not much to talk about though, so I don't know why I'm making it sound like a big deal. It really just comes down to like, do you want to do the grind or not? Like, if you got... It's not that the fights are impossible if you don't grind, it's just more of... The fights are unbearably hard if you don't, like... Unless you're like using like, I don't know, like save states or something, or... you get very lucky and you never get hit by like their huge attack power, then you can win. but you have to land so many hits thanks to their high defense. So it's just much better if you just grind instead. It'll make it much easier on yourself. And yeah, now that I've said all of that, I can talk about Toji. So I think he's pretty cool. His level 1, his green meter is a projectile, which is actually pretty decent. Yeah, that move right there is like a power wave. I don't think it's a low. I don't even know if highs and lows exist in this game. I'm pretty sure they do. Yeah, that's his second move where you mash punch. He would just attack rapidly, kind of like a Zanret's Ken, if you will. And his third move, which is that blue bar, is I think it's down forward button 2. He would do a palm strike, and if it lands, like if the opponent gets hit by it or blocks it, they'll oh, do I get the super off here? Because I do have super ready. It's really cool when it happens. But yeah, his third move is it would do 2 more strikes if the first hit lands, like right there. I think I'm gonna do the super here. Ah, I didn't get it. I think I'm just gonna actually, yeah, I do remember trying to like charge meters to show it off. It's actually a pretty cool super because it's like a Ranbu, kind of like a artifight. You can think of him like an artifighting character, like Ryo Sakazaki. Yeah, there it is. Really cool stuff. Wait, see, I don't think I need to tell you that that special does a good amount of damage. It is pretty cool. Oh, I did it again too. Sick. Yeah, overall Toji's alright. I still think I think Fusuke is the best character in this game just because of his like size alone and the fact that like he has a consistent projectile. But I don't know, it really depends. I still think for this playthrough I actually do focus on leveling Fusuke over the others. Mainly because of the final battle and because of one other battle, but we're not there yet. I'm getting too ahead of myself. So now that Toji has found out about the 3 generals, it's time to find them. And the first one will be, if I'm not mistaken... Actually, what is this event? Now that I think about it. I think this is the... Yeah, this is the one encounter I did want to show off because this is where the enemy turns invisible. And the only way to see them is to actually charge a meter. Now, you don't need to do this, but you can. I'm going to... Yeah, there you go. So I was charging meter there just to at least get my level 1 move. And I think it was during this long play that I actually I don't know if I was aware of this mechanic like during the long play where like you charge meters to see them. Not that it mattered because I was just drawing air shurikens all day anyways. But yeah, it is just one opponent. Now I should mention that you might have saw from the menu before this fight that you can actually choose who you want to use to face the opponent as, which is important because the character that defeats them, like the character that defeats the opponent is the one that gets the experience. So because I'm using Fusuke would get experience points, but not Toji and Aicho. And again, my goal is to make sure Fusuke is as strong as possible for the end game, and I'll explain why as we go along. So I think I got some experience there, I don't know how much. And yeah, next up is the next story segment. Unless another... Okay, this encounter is actually interesting. You get to pick someone... It's like a sparring match in a sense, so you get to pick like who you want to fight the others as. And I think level comes into account here also. Now unfortunately I did lose, but it's fine because it is just a sparring match, so like it's just for bonus experience really. And it doesn't actually take away from your health. Thank goodness. Any case, if you're not too surprised by at this point, when you get to this town, guess what you gotta fight? More guards. Whoa, didn't see this coming. So yeah, it's yet more fight with guards, and at this point, like, I'm only going to commentate over the story segments because this is getting... Like, there's not a lot I can say, and at this point it feels like I'm rambling. I don't want to sound annoying or anything, and if I am, then I do apologize. But yeah, from here I'm just going to be like in and out. I'll commentate over like the story segment so that you have an idea of what's going on. And yeah, I'll be back in a bit. Alright, so now that that battle's over, I think in this part the team gets a hit on where to go next, like to find the generals. And of course I do bump into another random encounter. As usual, this will be skipped in order to save time because, man, imagine if I actually did it like put in every single grinding without using any. Man, this playthrough would be so long. Anyways, that grinding section was interesting because you can actually use you actually have to use all 3 characters. I think they face 5 guards each, so like all of them is getting experience, which is pretty good. This is similar except you face 1 strong thug, like each character. Got through it no problem, and everybody got some experience for that, which is cool. And hopefully there's not another random encounter after this. And yeah, I got 8 food for winning that battle. And of course I ended up having to use like 10 of it just to heal everyone to full. This is yet another fight with the invisible enemy, the invisible bandit. Had Fusuke fight him to get some more experience. Alright, let's keep going. And there we go, the next story segment, finally. So this is where like a big reveal happens in the anime. This is actually pretty early on, like the first 10 episodes. I think it's episode 8 if I'm not mistaken. And you see 2 generals talking to each other. That was Ajirada, and if you notice from that blonde hair, if you play the Saturn game, you'll know who that is. But yeah, time to face some more guards, so you have to pick your order. The order doesn't really matter all that much. It really depends on like, I think the order you pick your characters in only matters if you're thinking about who you're going to pick after you lose. Because, okay, let's say it's like from the beginning, like imagine if I only had Fusuke and Aicho, right? And like both had to face 5 guards each. If I pick Fusuke first, beat 3 guards, and then lose, Aicho would have to face the remaining guards, which would mean like 7 because Fusuke beat the first 3. So that's kind of like the mindset you need to have if you're like, if you really care about the order. I don't, it's whatever. There's only a few sections where I do because like leaving Fusuke for last or something. It's especially important for the final stage when we get there. But yeah, it's really, for the most part, it's only really important if you're like considering who should like fight whenever the first character loses. It's also actually, if you're trying to like do a grind run where like you're trying to beat the game with like only 1 character, then you could just use the other 2 characters first and have them lose on purpose, and then you can the last character have to face all of those enemies, and then they would just get a chunk of experience from winning that battle. So I guess in that way it can't be useful if you're going for that kind of run. So, the big reveal, this is where the team finds out that one of the colonels is named Colonel Basara, aka Kisumi, the Ice Ninja. Who, he's, again, it's a lot. I really recommend you just watch the anime instead, but I'll just give you a brief rundown of what happened. Kisumi, he was one of the Ninku, like in the war, or all of these characters were, you know, Fusuke, Aicho, Toji, and Kisumi. They were part of the war as like the Ninku side. Their master gave up and told them to go home. They were unsure why. And when Kasumi went back home, he came home to a dead fiance. Like he found his fiance dead, and he was pissed. So because of that, he decided to attack the Imperial Army on his own. He got gunned down, and then he was spared, I should say saved, by Archbishop Kochin, which is the big bad guy of the series. And ever since then, he just like decided to side with the Imperial Army. Like, you know, power is everything. I froze my heart. This is the way like the world has to be ruled or whatever. That kind of noise. Again, the anime will give much more better context and accuracy than what I'm making it sound like. Anyways, it's at this part where, if you saw from the fight earlier, Kasumi's way too strong. He defeated me in a few hits. Even if you defeat him, the story is still the exact same. Except, you know, I chose like alive to see that he's not strong enough. And yeah, that cutscene pretty like just like the anime. Basara leaves. He tells him, hey, like, make one more decision, like join me or like die or whatever. And then he leaves, waiting for their answer. And the team realizes, okay, we're too weak. We really need to like get stronger and find this dragon or whatever. Oh, you know what? I don't think, actually, I'm talking about the dragon, but we're not even there yet, so I'm actually getting ahead of myself. I'm thinking of like one of the later episodes, but pretty much in a nutshell, like, they do have to get up stronger in order to defeat Kasumi. They cannot beat him, he's just way too freaking powerful. And I'm not sure why I left this grinding part in. I guess I just wanted like a break from the story. Unless something happens here and this is actually important. Okay, it was just really short. Anyways, I am starting to run out of food. There is Toji's plane. Hell yeah. So what's cool about this is that you actually get to decide if you want to use it or not, and when you do, it'll let you like just zip across the air, which is good if you want to avoid those random encounters. But the thing is, if you've seen the anime, you would know one thing about Toji when he flies the plane. And he has a huge tendency to crash it. And when this happens, I think everyone loses half of their health. Yep, everyone went to 5 health. That's not good. I only have 4 food left. Now, when you get to this next story segment, this is where the game kind of gets cheap in a sense. So Fusuke's bad sense of direction leads them to literally nowhere. So now you have to pick who will lead to the next direction. Because in this point of the story, they're trying to go back to the Ninku village, like to get more training. So I always pick Aicho or Toji. I picked Aicho for that part. Thankfully, he did pinpoint it to like the place we have to go to next. If you pick Fusuke, you are not going to go to the right place, trust me. Most likely than not, his sense of direction is going to lead you to nowhere. But yeah, I got lucky, I picked Aicho, and it led me right to where we have to go, which is the Ninku village. So all of these bad guys, even though they have the same sprite as the thugs, these are actually these are ninjas that actually know like Ninku techniques, like, you know, like Aicho's like sky soaring attack, his, you know, Fusuke's air shuriken and all that stuff. And this is where the game drops a bomb. You can see that I took one punch and lost 1/3 of my health, and I threw him, I only did like what, 2%? The game wants you to beat this fight. I'm not joking, the game actually wants you to win here. And you have to face 3 of these guys. Like, I'm still on the first one, and jeez. So yeah, I'm just going to slowly lose. I'm just going to lose very fast, I should say. And at this point, I've accepted that I'm not, like, my characters aren't at a high enough level, so I just walk forward and wait for the enemies to hit me just to get it over with. Yep, there it is. And of course, it's a scripted fight because the Ninku's master has his brother appears, like, because they don't know where their master is yet. Like, it's kind of like a mystery in the anime itself. They don't know where he went. But yeah, he would tell them that, you know, they gotta get, you know, just like getting strong and all of that stuff. Like, he would talk to them about how actually, I do have my notes here. I don't know why I'm like trying to just remember it off the top of my head. But yeah, he does mention how like the master gave up in the war because like he knew that going any further in the war would cause like total chaos, like within like the planet or whatever. And like he also was aware of how truly powerful Archbishop Koshin is. So after that fight, you rest up, and are you ready to do some grinding? Because those guys are really high level, and if you think I'm gonna actually sit here and grind, no, because I actually already did that in a prior playthrough to this. Like, because before I did this long play, I did play through this game like casually, like I want to say like a month before I did this video, and I made sure to actually like write down a password for when I did my grinding, because I'm not going to, like, again, the long play is already an hour and 40 minutes. I'm not going to spend another hour playing the same exact, like, repetitive fighting. So, I do have a password for when I did some grinding. Now, it's not going to make me overpowered, like, for the rest of the game or something like that. It's just going to make me just strong enough so that I can get through the rest of the game, like, at the right pace. I want to say, with the exception of, like, the final boss, because he does have a lot of like defense and attack. It's kind of difficult, but it's not to a point where it feels impossible. Like, it's doable, it just feels like a hard boss fight. So I think this is the perfect password for like being just strong enough to get through the rest of the game. And yeah, you can see there I did a lot of grinding. All my characters are at level L, 94 coins and 86 food. And this part is when I saw this part I was pissed because what happens here is that you find a lot, like, it's a random event. If this random event happens to you and you like find a lost kid, you have to return them to the town in order to continue the story. And it's like, oh great, I get to trigger more random like encounters and all that. Cool. Even though like I was already ready to go to like the real fight, which is the story on the top of the map. Now you do get 40 food for doing that, so if you're low on food that might be really helpful, but if you're trying to like continue with the story, it'll seem like an inconvenience. So I skipped a lot of random encounters there. You can see that Fusuke's actually at like 8 experience compared to like, I think he was at 2 or 0 earlier. And now we're back at the fight. And we gotta face 3 Ninku warriors or whatnot. And since my characters are at level L, this would be much easier compared to like when I tried to facing them earlier. Again, I can't stress enough that if you don't do any grinding, this fight is going to be insufferable. The rest of the game will be insufferable. Like, you're going to be wailing at them a lot. Like, even if you're like trying to get through this game using save states, you're going to be there for quite a while. But again, that's not necessary. Just do some grinding and like it'll be much easier. Like, you should have a hard time getting through this, especially since again the game is simple. You don't need to know any like combos or anything like that since they don't exist. You just need to know like your good moves and when to use them. And if you can't tell from here, I obviously don't, because Aicho isn't really my favorite. The only time I know when to like time his move is when like another enemy is spawning, where I do the like when they jump in, I do the like sky soaring fist to hit them right before they land. But yeah, other than that, it's kind of ridiculous. As usual, I'll be back for when we get up to the next story segment, and I'll explain what's going on there. Okay, so this is pretty much the same cutscene you've seen earlier when I first fought this fight and I lost. But another cutscene will happen right after this where like he'll mention something about a dragon where the team has to find a dragon in order to get stronger. And like, you know, if they see this dragon and find it, then they'll be strong enough to actually face off against Kasumi. Now, the weird part about this story segment is in the, how can I say this? As I said earlier, this game is loosely based off the anime. And maybe, again, there could be spatial limitations and all of that, so that's fine, but you don't actually get the certain story segments where, like, I don't want to mention it because spoilers, but, like, it actually happens in the second game, Ninku 2 for the Game Gear, so I'll just talk about that when we get there. Anyways, here's the next story segment where you find this old man and then guards appear. And this man will tell you to, like, you know, respect nature, don't like destroy the forest or whatever. If you want to stay true to the anime, you gotta select no here to select the right option or to change the location. And you've seen me do this a few times to show like the different locations. I think the only thing that matters is you say yes as long as you're not in the forest, like that, those trees right there. I think this place is actually fine to fight into. So just make sure you don't find a forest. Now, if you're wondering what happens if you say yes while fighting in the forest, I think the old man would be mad, and like the team would just they'll stay silent about it. But the reason why you don't want to fight in the forest is because you wouldn't notice, but this actually has a huge impact on the final battle of the game. So if you don't fight in the forest, something very cool will happen when you get to the end of the game. So thankfully, you know, I did that right here. I'm just fighting near the rocks and mountains instead. And I did like that they added that part in. I think that's pretty cool, because I do remember that episode from the anime as well. And I'm pretty sure it's just 3 guards, like just a few guards each, which isn't too bad. But yeah, as long as you don't find the forest, you should be good for this part. Okay, so now that you did this fight, it's time to move on to the next story segment, which is much more straightforward. You can see right here that I actually did lose. I'm going to talk about that right now once we get there. And the reason why I lost is because of this very first part coming up. Oh yeah, that's right. So I did level up from that, like before I got game over, like before I had to use a continue. And I bumped into this guy where you have a chance to level up or level down your character. I picked Fusuke. I got unlucky, so now he's back to level M. So it's kind of like I didn't even do any of that at all. But it's whatever. So this part right here, you have to select an order of which like character will enter the fortress or something like that. So they give you a selection here. Here's the thing, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I don't think it matters which order you pick, because no matter which order you pick, the characters go about it in the same exact, in a completely random way. Like you can pick Fusuke, for example. There's three fights in total, right? You can pick Fusuke, Aicho, and Toji, and then like the last fight, like the third fight, you're using Aicho. Like it's completely random. I thought maybe it was RNG, or maybe like you had to like reverse the order or something. But no, I even did this part outside of this long play and like made a save state to find out, and no, it's just random. Like I don't know why it's like this. And it doesn't sound like a big deal at first, but the problem is that the third fight is actually a unique boss fight, and unless you know what you're doing, it's pretty easy to die there, which might not sound like a big deal, but if you get game over here, or I should say you use a continue, you have to fight all of these guards all over again, so it feels like you're accomplishing nothing. So yeah, that was the loss I took earlier, which is that when I got up to the third fight, they just made me use Aicho, and he's not really my favorite to use in this game. I mostly prefer Fusuke. And because of that, like, I lost, and I think I was also just playing awful too, so, like, that, you know, at the end of the day, it's my fault if I lose. I'm not only going to blame the character. But yeah, happened here again, where I'm just using Aicho last, and I have to face this boss fight. Anyways, this story segment, I should actually just talk about this. They actually find Colonel Ajirata, and now they have to face him to save Ryoko, who got captured. And yeah, you don't get to choose who you pick. It depends on who hasn't fought yet. So because Fusuke and Toji already fought their guards, I now have to use Aicho for this fight. So even though I didn't get to show the, oh wow, I don't think I ever noticed that. Like that's actually like, it's cool that they have an animation for getting shocked, like some like Darkstalkers or Street Fighter. That's pretty cool. And like the game has some cool aspects to it. All right, I really don't want to make it sound like the game's unbearable. I hope I haven't. It's just a game that like you have to play in spades, really. But yeah, I did much better here, even though all I did was just jump in and use kicks. I think maybe last time I was just like trying to use special moves, but it didn't work out too well. Anyways, they spare his life because the Ninku weren't meant to kill people. Like, that's not how they go. And after that, I think he tells them a hint on where to find the dragon. And so after they save Hiroyuki, they go to a nearby town to take a break. And that is our next objective. So yeah, that was just another random event. I got 20 food for doing it and some experience. Another random encounter. So actually was good that happened because Fusuke and Aicho got a level up. Because at this point in the game, even though like I used even though you can use like, how can I say this? Like I do have 2 different passwords, like one for like when we fought those 3 Ninku users, and like the other one is for like the final boss, but I didn't need to use that because like I said, this is just good enough in that you can beat the game. But yeah, this event, the team finds out that there's like clones of them running around causing trouble. And now you see these guards, and that is Colonel Mekira, who's also in the Saturn game. Yeah, so the team is like, okay, who's doing this? Like, where are these clones? And that is your next objective, which is the dot on the top left. Another random encounter that will be skipped. I think Toji got a level up from that, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, I think we're getting pretty close. Oh my god, that was one step. That was actually one step. We played it, yeah, that was one step. I'm pretty sure that happened. Let me relax. Anyways, you get to this town, and I'm pretty sure it's from here that they find out about, yeah, Mekira pops up and she's like, hey, check out these clones, and now you have to face all of these clones in a battle. Now, like I said before, order you pick doesn't really matter too much. You know, like if you pick Fusuke, actually I don't even think you get to pick an order here, if I'm not mistaken. Like I'm pretty sure the fight just starts. Yeah. Okay. And yeah, it's just 3 mirror matches. And so I'm a bit perplexed on this fight. Maybe it's because I didn't do enough testing. Maybe I should like turn this game on my own and like use a cheat code to start at level Z or something. I don't know if the clones are your same level or not. I want to say they are because of like the damage difference, but at the same time, look at their meter. They already have a full blue meter. That's like level like S or T or something. So it's hard to say for sure, but at the same time, you can... I don't know. Maybe they are high level. Yeah, they are doing a lot of damage. But yeah, I think I do lose a character or 2 in this fight, but I do manage to get through it just fine. So, as usual, I'll be back for when this fight is over. Alright, so now that fight is over, you're going to see, I'm pretty sure Mechura runs away at this point, and then, Toji gets on the plane to chase after her, and I think you know how this goes by now, if you've seen especially if you've seen the anime. He goes on the plane to chase her, and because this is Toji riding the plane, it is going to crash. And by crash, I mean it runs out of gas and they crash land. And yeah, now we're actually getting close to the end of the game. We're at the finale. There's only a few more story segments left. These are the hardest parts of the game, especially if you didn't do any like mandatory grinding, but even at level 0, it is still possible. So this first event, you will bump into someone named Kirin. I don't think they mentioned it yet in the story itself, but this is actually one of one of Aicho's like best students. You could think of it like a second in command or whatnot of like Aicho's Ninku team, which is Rooster Ninjas. And yeah, this part is kind of hard. I'll explain why in a bit. Not only because of the fight itself, but because of what you have to do. So again, this is my second time losing here, but that's fine. I do get it right on the next try before bumping into a random encounter, which we will be skipping. And yeah, now I get to talk about this fight. So this fight will first start off with Fusuke fighting some guards, and then after that, you get a cutscene. There's actually there's not too much to go over, but I might as well just like talk about this while I'm here. So there are a few guards to fight. Fusuke is at a pretty good level, so they're pretty easy to take care of at this point. Like I am doing a good amount of damage, and at least it means that Fusuke is getting some kind of XP. So yeah, after this is going to be a cutscene. It's a pretty important. Actually, no, it's not an important cutscene. It's the two fights there that'll be important. I'm getting ahead of myself. Maybe just like wait for it to happen. But yeah, this first fight, pretty simple. Really, not much to it. Now in the anime, I'm pretty sure it was similar, where like, yeah, Toji's like captured by the guards, and he finds a way to escape. Now this section right here, if you select the left option, you get to face the guards as Toji. Only do this if you want Toji to get a bit more experience. It's not something you have to do. Otherwise, you can select the right option, which is no, and Toji will actually escape. And that just skips to this cutscene right here. This cutscene will happen whether Toji you face the guards or not, so it's not important. Only if you want a bit more extra XP for Toji. So now you have to face Kirin as Aicho. And again, because he's Aicho's student, he does know some Ninku techniques, which include, for some reason he knows air shuriken, which is weird, but I'm pretty sure it was like that in the anime as well. Like he learned like different techniques. Because he does work under Kasumi, which is the ice ninja. Now this fight, I think my strategy was to wait. Like, you want to at least be at level 2, which should be your case by now if you're at this, like... Because, you know, Aicho and Fusuke is at some pretty decent levels, so they don't even have to charge meter at this point to get to level 2. They're already at, like, kind of like half blue meter. So my strategy for this fight is to wait for Kirin to make a move, or, like, to jump in and kick. And once I see him do the soaring fist from, like, above when he jumps up, that is when I want to go on the offensive, like, right there. So I think I wait for him to do it one more time, just block, and then you can either throw him or do your own attack, like that one right there. I think the first time I did it, I wasn't patient, that's why I lost, so make sure you just take your time and you should be fine. Remember, there's no chip damage, so there's no incentive to rush the fight. No chip damage and no time limit. Now this fight is very important, so you face Kirin again. Now I think this is like the anime where he performs a technique where it like increases his power by like threefold or something, but at the cost of his life. So now you have to like fight him one more time, but Fusuke will mention that he should be the one that faces him. which is important because similar to when you fought outside of the forest, it is very important that you defeat Kirin as Fusuke. Now you might be wow, that's a pretty cool move. You might be wondering, okay, you say face Kirin as Fusuke, why are you using Aicho? Well, two reasons. First off, you can see that Kirin's doing a lot of freaking damage, like from landing hits. He's at a much higher level in this fight, so I want to keep things safe. But most importantly, health carries over. Like you see that I'm doing damage to Kirin right now, and like, you know, Aicho got defeated. That's fine. And now I'm going to pick Toji next. He's at level N, but that's good enough. I just need him to do a little bit more damage, just to guarantee this. And yeah, you can see that Kirin's health is still like the same, like as when he just finished facing Aicho. So my goal is to get his health as low as possible, so that like it's pretty much a guarantee that like I win as Fusuke. Like it'll be much easier. I could have just started the fight as Fusuke. I think even like at his health right now, I could have just went to Fusuke and like try to finish him off. But again, I did want to make like, I did want to go with the safe strat, which is just to like get his health as low as I can get it, like using the other two characters, and then use Fusuke to finish him off. And you need to do this. Well, no, you don't need to do this to finish the game, but again, similar to the forest, it will be very, very helpful for the final battle, and which we're really close to. I think it's after this fight right here. So yeah, now I'm using Fusuke, and I'm going to finish Kirin off as Fusuke in order to get a secret bonus at the end. I know I keep hinting at this, but you'll see it soon enough. It is after this battle. So yeah, I win, and another thing is that if you do beat him as Fusuke, you get a different cutscene where he actually takes his mask off and he says his final words to Aicho. Now it's time to find the Tenku dragon. I got bodied here, I'm not gonna lie, because the final boss is kind of difficult, but it's not it's not the hardest thing ever. I just started slipping up and I lost, but I definitely do win here. So this is I think this is the Feng Shui location. Like this is where they gotta find the dragon. And now you have to face a very overpowered Kasumi, and I'm not talking just stats. I'm talking like even if you see once the fight starts, it's a lot, but I'm going to use my weakest character for this, which is a Toji at the minute. And there's a good reason why I'm picking him first. So Kasumi has infinite meter, so he can do his super at any time, that's a super right there. Does a ton of damage. And he recovers his health to full even if you lose like one character. So it might feel like an impossible fight. Like, how do you beat this guy? Because like you can only use one character, right? However, if you remember from earlier, you get some flashbacks, yeah. So you get one flashback for not fighting in the forest, and the other if you defeated Kirin as Fusuke. And because we did this, now Fusuke and Aicho will see the dragon, and they will instantly get 2 level ups, which is great, because we're gonna need it in order to defeat Kasumi. Not only do they get level ups, but they also get rid of Kasumi's infinite purple meter. And now Kasumi won't regenerate health when he wins, which is great. So if you didn't do those 2 events, you are screwed. Like, you can win, like, if you want to, like, an example, like, I think if you do a ton of grinding, like, you get close to level Z, you can just beat, you can beat Kasumi just normally, even if he has full, like, purple meter or whatever. But if you're in my situation where, like, you're not at a high enough level where you can beat him consistently, then, wow, I'm pretty sure I was already dead there. But yeah, if you're not at a super high level, like, I think the password I put in the guide is for, like, starting at level S, and, like, the extra 2 level ups will put you at level U. Then it can be a difficult fight for sure. So now I'm up to my last character, which is Fusuke. and I do have a strat for this. I just want to stay back and do air shuriken. Now, when Kasumi does have his super, I have to be a little careful and get ready to block since he just zips across the screen. I will be using Fusuke's super a lot for this fight. But other than that, I do not want to, like, for this fight, I do not recommend getting close to Kasumi. He just does, unless you did a ton of grinding and you're like at a very high level, he just does a ton of damage and it's very easy to lose quickly if you get carried away. Thankfully, he didn't block at the last minute. I think he actually has super right now since his health is really low. So I'm still trying to be very careful. I am playing a little bit risky here by drawing these out. So I think I'm gonna get ready to block and do my super again. Oh wow, that actually finished him too. Wow, yeah, actually, I thought I had one hit left. Okay, so that is the end of Ninku 1 for the Game Gear. Now in this last cutscene, you know, Kasumi's like, oh, finish me off or whatever, you know, it's over. And then Fusuke's like, no, we're Ninku, we don't, I'm making this sound really lame. We don't finish people off, like, that's not our way, like come back with us, you can make up for it. He's like, you're right, Fusuke, I can, but like, I've done way too much bad, I gotta go on my own path, and all that stuff. Again, I swear it's way more better in the anime. Well, actually, on a serious note, it is much different from the anime because, again, like, in this cutscene, there was supposed to be a mention of, like, whatchamacallit? You know what? I'm not even gonna say it because it actually is spoilers for the anime in case you want to watch it yourself. Just know that, like, this is just like even though this is technically a spoiler in itself, it's not completely accurate. So if you actually watch the anime yourself, then you would get a much better context and you actually see something much different than what you're seeing here. At least to an extent. But yeah, this ending, as for the Game Gear ending, Kasumi does realizes his wrongdoings. And even though he does, because he like screwed up really bad, he wants to like go on his own for now and like figure things out. But that's what, you know, like that doesn't mean he's still on the bad side, he's on the good side. It's just like, yeah, here's the credits. And he's like, you know what, like, maybe just get some time alone, maybe just walk on my own. And the team's like, alright, cool, we're just going to continue our journey to stop the Imperial Army. Because even though they have defeated, like, the 3 generals, including Kasumi himself, the Archbishop Kochin is still out there. So yeah, that's it for this game. There will be, I think there's a cliffhanger at the end of this, but we can go over that in Ninku 2. I hope I made this somewhat watchable. I'm sorry for like all like the long grindings and all that. There's just so much to explain in this, even though the game itself is really simple. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this long play, and with that said, I'll be back for when we get into Ninku 2. Ninku 2 Tenkuryu-e no Michi is a much different experience from the first game. It still loosely follows the story of the anime, but it ditches the RPG mechanics of Ninku 1, and it has an arcade mode with 8 playable characters. The fighting itself also got an overhaul. It still shares some similar aspects, but there are some drastic differences. Special moves now use up a certain amount of meter, you'll gain meter by taking damage, and now everyone has an attack string. An attack string in yet another Ninku fighting game where combos don't exist. That's right, all 3 of the Ninku fighting games for the Sega consoles let you block while taking damage. Any point where I thought I found some insane combo or devastating attack was immediately tarnished when I realized that you can hold back to negate them completely. Which is unfortunate for Ninku 2 since it does have link play. In any case, let's go over the controls. Similar to Ninku 1, button 1 is punch, button 2 is kick, and holding both buttons will charge meter. Ninku 2 is much more straightforward than its prequel. The main story mode will have you play 8 fights in total with cutscenes in between them. The story fights are 1-round bouts, while the arcade mode and versus mode will have you play a best of 5 match. Let's start with movement. All characters can double jump in any direction. They can also dash by pressing forward or back twice. Dashing is really good since it makes you completely invincible during the animation. As for attacking, you have your basic attacks as usual, along with a few extra attacks. Each character can slide by holding down plus forward and pressing kick, and they can perform a string by pressing a certain button 3 times in a row. The button will depend on the character, but as I already mentioned, all 3 of the Ninku fighting games for the Sega consoles let you block while taking damage. Throwing is now done by pressing back plus punch while close, and all special moves are available at the start. However, these special moves will require a certain amount of meter in order to perform. If you don't have enough meter, you won't be able to perform the move. Okay, I get it. Keep the player from performing their best moves over and over to keep the game balanced. In a game with no combos, no chip damage, and dashes that are completely invincible, how are you supposed to hurt someone in this game? Well, at least the CPU is unaware of how strong defense is. I'll explain how to defeat them during the long play. If you want a move list that also has the amount of meter each move takes up, you can check the link in the description below. Now it's time for Ninku 2 on the Game Gear. Now, unlike the first game, this is much more straightforward. It's just 8 fights and then the credits appear. The options, there's really not much besides the sound test. I do think that this game has some pretty good music. I do like it a lot. And yeah, with that said, we're going to get straight into it. Now, the story is very similar to the first game, except it pretty much starts at the first half of the anime, like after the midpoint. You know, like, if you've already seen the first playthrough I did with Ninku 1, then you already know the story by now. Kasumi became one of the generals for the Imperial Army. He defeats the Ninku easily. They realize that they're not strong enough, and the only way to get strong enough to face Kasumi is to find a dragon. So pretty simple stuff. We're pretty much starting up at the midpoint of the anime, as I mentioned earlier. And this cutscene right here, this cutscene didn't happen in the first game. In fact, plenty of these cutscenes didn't. So here, this is Kochin telling Colonel, General Ajirata that, like, hey, you got like one more chance to defeat the Ninku, or else like you'll be considered a traitor or whatnot. So this is where you have to face Ajirata. But first you get a cutscene. Now this cutscene kind of happened in the first game too, where like Ryoko gets captured and you have to save her and defeat Ajirata. Some pretty simple stuff. There's not much else I need to mention here, but pretty soon coming up will be a decision you have to make. So they find out where he is, and from here you have to pick either if you face him as Aicho or Toji. So on the left is Aicho, on the right is Toji. It really doesn't matter who you pick. You can pick whoever you feel comfortable with. I'll pick Aicho for now since I like him the least in a sense, sort of. It's really because of how the gameplay works. So yeah, this is actually more of a fighting game now. You can see the frame rates improve, the combat looks much more fast. There's like, you know, there's actually like meters that's like art of fighting style that uses up your, like special moves use up your meter in order to do them. And unfortunately, the gameplay is still the same in a sense. Now, I don't think that makes it a bad game. It's just, it doesn't feel like they learned enough from the first game is what I'm trying to say. But in a way, that's fine because it makes for a very interesting experience that I've never really been through before. And what I mean by that is, so there are certain attacks in this game where, Like they'll hit multiple times, and like if you don't block, they'll deal a ton of damage. And some of them have really fast startup, so it becomes a matter of like, even if you get hit by it, like you have to hold down back quick enough in order to prevent the extra damage. I don't know. Like, that can be said for plenty of games without like true combos, but I think it was this one in particular where like I really felt that, where I got hit by some powerful move, but because I didn't like block the extra hits in time, I just took all that damage. I'm pretty sure that happens in this playthrough too. Right, so yeah, that fight's pretty simple. You can see Aicho he's alright. He has some cool moves like the Sky Soaring Fist where he goes forward then backward, which is a pretty cool move. But other than that, he's okay. He's not my favorite, I'd say that much. And yeah, yes, you are in front of the password screen. I should say the password. But yeah, there's the password right there. That'll let you start the second fight of the story. And yeah, it's time to face him one more time, at least in a row. And for this fight, you don't get a decision. You have to use Fusuke for this fight. So far, it seems a bit closer to the anime because with Ninku 1, it kind of felt like you was facing him in the middle of nowhere, whereas with this game, you're actually facing him in the cavern, like in the place they fought him in the actual anime. Which is pretty cool. A good time for me to mention that anime and the manga is very different from each other. So that's why I'm constantly referring to it as the anime, because if you read the manga, then the story and the characters themselves would be a bit more different. Well, in some cases, a lot more different, so take that for what you will. I think this part I actually do take a lot of damage here. Make sure you keep a close eye on my health bar. Just keep an eye on that, you will know why. There it is. Yep, that got melted. It's like 50%. It's like 10%. I should say 5. So the reason why I was like sticking to this corner is because I kept trying to do that tornado move. Yeah, look at that damage. Because yet again, this is a similar case to Ninku 1, where you have to hope they don't block. Like for example, I'm going to do one of Fusuke's super moves, which is that right there, that big tornado. It's back, down, forward, and both buttons, I think. And this move costs about 50% of his meter, so that's why you see me constantly like backing up to charge a meter. You also do get meter by getting hit. But yeah, I'm just depending on this move because I realized that I took, like, look at my health. I can't really, because of how this game plays, because I gotta hope that they don't block, it's too risky to get in there and like go in there for a move, because it's like, okay, well, it might not even hit them because like it really depends if they feel like blocking it or not. Now, thanks to Fusuke's small size, I do avoid plenty of those projectiles just by standing there. I don't have to duck them half the time. And yeah, that was the second fight. Pretty easy, really. And honestly, from here, there's not like... Because the thing is, the story is very... Oh yeah, and he does save Arjurata because Ninku don't kill. And yeah, the story is very similar. Like, even though it's still like a bit closer to the anime, it's still the same story as Ninku 1. In fact, there's one huge difference, I think, when it comes to both of these games. So coming up is a clone fight. This fight's actually a bit different because you don't actually have to use all of the Ninku here. But my point still stands, like, if you've seen the first playthrough, you've seen this fight before, like, it's the same story beats, So, like, the Ninku will appear, they'll find out about the clones, and this is where you have to make a decision on which mirror match do you want to play. If you pick Fusuke, you'll fight Fusuke. If you pick Aicho, you'll fight Aicho. If you pick Toji, you'll fight Toji. So, I am going to pick Fusuke, which is the top left decision, because he is my best character in this game. Oh, this is one of my favorite tracks, too. But, I think for this, I actually do show off the whole, like, not blocking thing, where if you just hope the CPU doesn't block, you can just get a ton of damage in for free. Oh, that's right. I finally get to talk about that nonsense, too. Okay. There's so, like, now I'm starting to remember, like, what I learned from this playthrough, because this playthrough was an interesting wow, I'm starting to hit. This playthrough was an interesting experience because it was one of the few times this happened in like a few other of my playthroughs too, where I'm playing the game, I'm just, there it is. Like, if they don't block that at all, they'll just take a ton of damage. But it's one of the few playthroughs where midway, I learned an effective way to deal with the CPU, and I just started using that a lot in order to get through this game. And I won't talk about it yet. You might have seen a glimpse of it in that fight. It's not that tornado, trust me. But I will start using that for the rest of this game. Now, this is the interesting part, the main difference. You see Byakko, if that's his name. Hopefully I'm not saying it or spelling it wrong. He's one of the soldiers that work for Kasumi. Like, because during this arc, like during this story segment, Kasumi trained like 3 different people to like work under him. He was trying to assemble a team in order to rule the world. And Byakko is one of those people, and he actually trained under Kasumi. Like, Kasumi found him, and like Byakko has like a huge fear of pain. And Kasumi quote unquote froze his heart so that he no longer feels pain. So like Byakko feels like invincible right now. And being that he trained under Kasumi, he obviously knows like a bunch of ice techniques. So this fight is pretty cool because it's not too hard to win it on the first try. I do take a lot of damage on this fight too. I actually lose this fight, as a matter of fact. Like, you can see right there, look at how much health I lost. So you can win this fight on the first try. It's not that hard, but if you want to stay true to the anime, you should actually lose this fight, because if you do, you get an extra cutscene. I don't know if if the cutscene makes the fight easier or not, but it is a nice touch, and you see that in a bit. Because yeah, there it goes. I had a feeling I lost here. So, similar to the anime, Fusuke does get bodied. He does lose, and as he's on his like last legs, as he's like getting destroyed, he does actually see the Tenku dragon, and that pretty much gives him the power he needs in order to like bring the fight back. And now you get to face Byakko again and get the run back. Now I should mention that if you lose a second time, you actually do have to like continue, like it'll send you to a continue screen and you have to like start the fight over. So this is the last chance you get in this specific part. Well, not really, because there are infinite continues, so yeah. Oh, I'm starting to get the tornado loops in there. It's pretty good. I think I'll do it one more time. Okay, I think I didn't have enough meter. Yeah, other than that, I got some pretty good damage, and that move did a lot. Oh my. And that should finish it? Okay, maybe one more would do it. Just one more attack, come on, anytime now. Oh, okay, I think that happened because the motion for that move is down back, a button 2. And the thing with this game is that you don't turn around instantly. So because I did the motion so fast when I landed from it previously, I still didn't turn around. Because I was trying to get the hop kicks in there, which is down forward 2. So yeah, Fusuke does defeat Byakko. And yeah, the team does arrive, if I'm not mistaken. Which is weird because in the anime, they fought all 3 of like Kasumi's like group or whatnot, the ones that he trained. So it's weird that you don't see the other 2, but again, I assume that this cartridge didn't have a lot of room. They couldn't add that many characters. So it is what it is. And already we're at the halfway point of this game. And this is where we get introduced to Sekirai, the dragon ninja. So this is where Kasumi learns that his soldiers got bodied. Mikura is laughing her ass off. And what's going to happen here in this story segment is Mikura is going to send her soldiers to find and brainwash Sekirai. I'm trying to not get Sekirai's name and Mikura's name confused. My bad. So I'm sorry. I hope it doesn't sound confusing. But yeah, Sekirai, he gets in this story segment, he does get hypnotized by someone, and I think he starts burning down a building, and now it's up to the Ninku to not only find who's doing the brainwashing, but to also stop Sekirai, just to keep him under control. Yep, there it is. So the building's on fire, and in this part, the decision you make here is who goes after the one doing the hypnotism, like who's the one hypnotizing him. So obviously you should send who you're not good with, like your least favorite character. So from here, I go to the right and I send Aicho. Which means that now you have to face Sakurai as either... Like the way... It goes in order, so because I send Aicho, I have to face him as Toji, but if I lose, I still have a chance because I can face him as Fusuke. And the same goes the other way around, so if I send Toji to find a person, then I'll be using Fusuke, and if I lost with Fusuke, I'll be using Aicho. It's a good time for me to talk about these characters, I guess. I haven't been doing that often. So, I already mentioned Aicho. I think he's decent. He's not really my favorite. He doesn't have any like great moves that knock down, which is kind of important for this game. Toji is decent, kinda. I don't think he's that great. He does have some good range in his kicks, as you can see here, but that's about it. Sakurai, I think he's actually pretty solid. He has a really good fireball. So some pretty good moves. I should mention another problem I had with Aicho is I kept forgetting that he has a DP. He has like an uppercut, and I wasn't utilizing it all that much. Other than that, I think he's alright. But let me get back on topic. Sakurai, he's decent. He has a really good fireball. He can shoot it in like 2 extra ways, which is really cool. And he has a really powerful super move. I think it's like a flame geyser where he jumps forward and does the fire move. Pretty good. Fusuke, one of my favorites in this game, just because he has some like, at least against the CPU, because he can do the tornado in the corner, and he can do the strat that I still haven't mentioned yet. I'm not going to talk about it yet. We'll be getting there soon though. Yeah, what you saw right there was Toji's super. He shoots a power wave and then he goes under for an uppercut. It's okay, but like because of how this game works, you don't get a lot of damage from it. So it's very niche. It's very situational. And yeah, now that we stopped Sakurai and we find out who was, yeah, there she is. So she was the one that was doing it, and now everything is back to normal. So who else did I mention yet? Well, Ajirada, I haven't talked about him yet, but I want to wait into because there is one more fight with him in this game, but I'm gonna wait until that happens because it's in that fight that he actually has access to his full move list. Like he was pretty much holding back in the first 2 fights, at least to my knowledge, because he never did the moves that he usually should be doing, like from the CPU standpoint. All right, so it's time for the 6th fight. This is where you have to actually face Mekira yourself, General Mekira. I think she gets pissed off because with her whole back, I never really got to talk about her at this point. I don't even think I've talked about her backstory. Really, it comes down to she hates the Ninku because they're supposedly the ones that burned down her homeland, like her family and all that, like her house was on fire and all that. And like she really hates the Ninku. She wants revenge, and she's like in this storyline she's trying to stop them herself. And that's why she joined with the Imperial Army. I would say more about it, but again, spoiler territory, so I can't. Like, I really would, but like, I do recommend you watch the anime to get much better context, because I'm just going based off of like what I remember. So I could be somewhat wrong to a standpoint. Anyways, this cutscene, Aicho gets captured, and now you have to pick who will go and save him. So you can either pick Fusuke or Toji. So for this, obviously I am going to pick Fusuke, because he is my best character. And now you have to defeat Mekira in order to save Aicho. And I think it's around here that I learned the strat. Hopefully I'm not wrong. So yeah, even that projectile goes under. That's really good. So let me see if it happens here. Because the strat I'm referring to is doing one specific move into another. I think it does happen here. So you see me using that air pressure fist move, I think that's what it's called, into a throw. So this move is really good because, as you can see, it hits multiple times, but more importantly, it goes forward, hits multiple times, and you have enough time to throw them because it has literally like almost no recovery. So it might be a guaranteed unblockable throw I don't know, because I never, this is the one game I never played against someone else in. Like, I have just as like for fun, but I didn't know about this at the time. Because this game does have link play, and I guess I should mention that it has an arcade mode where you can just face all 8 opponents as like whoever you want as one of the 8 characters. But there's no endings in that. It's just like at the end of the arcade mode you get a rank and like that's it. There's really no like reward or anything. And yeah, that was the fight. So in this cutscene, Mekira, I think the Ninku tell Mekira that like, yo, we are serious when we say that Ninku don't kill, like you got us wrong. And like, is at this point Mekira is wondering like if the Ninku are truly the ones that burned down her homeland. Like she wants to know the truth for sure. This is where she starts like thinking twice about what she originally thought. Hiroyuki's in the way of the freaking password screen, thank you. And yeah, whatchamacallit? Trying to remember what else. Oh yeah, I didn't even talk about Mekira. So in this game, like at least how she fights in this game, she has a bunch of projectiles. She actually has an interesting like geyser move where she makes one erupt from both like in front and behind her, and it's really good because it's the similar trait to Fusuke's like whirlwind where it hits multiple times while he's spinning on it. And with Mekira, she can move while the geysers are out, so I think in that situation, if she corners you and uses the geyser move, it can either deal a lot of damage if you don't block, or maybe she can go in for like a guaranteed throw. I can't say for sure since I've never tested it in the 2-player match. And yeah, this is the run back with Colonel Ajirata. So I think it's from here he starts using all of his moves. You do have to face him as Fusuke. And there are 2 moves I didn't mention with him, and I didn't really talk about him as a whole. So I already mentioned that, like in the intro, that all characters have an attack string. Like with Fusuke, it's punch, punch, punch. Ajirata has that too. But the interesting part is that his is a drill, so he does punch, punch, and when he presses the 3rd time, it goes into a command drill, which is really unique. I think that's really cool. It kind of reminds me of like I mean, I haven't played Dragon Ball FighterZ in like, it feels like 10 years. But like Majin Buu, where if you press light punch 3 times, the 3rd hit is like a grab, but it's like an on hit grab. Like I like that. But yeah. Oh, I didn't even get to talk about his moves. So he has 2 extra moves. They cost about 50% meter each. One is a huge lightning ball that is actually big enough to hit Fusuke. It does a decent amount of damage, but it costs too much meter. I don't think it's like worth it considering how much. I don't know. Like it's. Because there are moves in this game that actually absorb projectiles, and you can actually absorb that projectile even though it's like supposed to be a desperation move. His other desperation move is really good because it costs about 50% meter. He shoots a lightning bolt into the sky, and until it hits you, or until you block it, like 6 of them will come down. So it'll be like 1, 2, 3, like it just keeps coming down until it eventually hits you. Like at least up to like 6 lightning bolts. So you either have to dodge all 6 of them, or you can just block the first one and then like it will stop. So I think that's a pretty cool move. It's like a, you see, if it was like any other fighting game, it would be like some kind of like sick oki to like a tool to like a move to use to like make the opponent guess, because they either have to keep dodging it or just block it once and hold the mix up. But because the gameplay is like this, it's just it comes off as like, okay, big deal. Like you can just block it, then like invincible dash out the way or something. Alright, anyways, now it's time for the final battle. So in this cutscene, it's a bit more context compared to the first game, where in the anime they actually do go to the Feng Shui Valley to like find the dragon, but Fusuke falls off the plane. And like as he's looking for the dragon, like they pretty much have to split up and find the dragon, because it was one of those situations where it's like Toji, Aicho, and Rihoko's like, okay, we would just look for the dragon, surely Fusuke would be there too. As Fusuke is looking for it, he bumps into Kasumi, and now you have to face him. And that music you heard earlier with the piano, that was Kasumi playing the piano, which is pretty cool. And you saw right there, I did a throw and it did a pixel of damage. So this is a scripted fight. You can win it, and if you do win, you do get you get the ending, like it's the same thing. But they really don't want you to win this. Like you could do it. Like you can see right there that Big Tornado did some kind of noticeable damage. but they really don't want you to. And that's fine because, again, I do think it's a bit closer to the anime. So I lost there, now we're going to get a cutscene. Alright, so some more story text. Really is just like, you know, it's Fusuke wondering why like Kasumi is like, you know, why is he evil? Why is he like this is not how what Ninku is supposed to do. He's supposed to like protect people, not, you know, be power hungry and all that. And again, similar to Ninku 1, it's around this point where all three characters, like, at least in the video game where, no, this is different actually. It's hard to, so in the first game, when you lose a character, the other two characters see the Tenku dragon and they get 2 level ups, which is like accurate to the anime, because Fusuke does get bodied in the anime, and like the other two characters, Toji and Aicho in the anime, actually get stronger from seeing that happen. And then in this game, instead all 3 of them see it like immediately, and you get a choice of who to pick for this fight. Now, I guess I might as well. I'm getting off topic. I'm not like all over the place with the story and all that. So, after you lose the first time with Fusuke, you get to pick one of the 3 characters, and now you have to face Kasumi as all 3 of these characters. The way it works isn't obvious. The thing is, Kasumi is still overpowered. He still does a lot of damage. It's still, you can see right there, my trolls are still not doing a lot of damage. And yeah, even his moves are still doing a chunk. So the way it works is that for each character you lose, Kasumi's defense gets lower and lower. So the tactic you want to use for this fight is to use like, save your, like, you know, treat this like KOF, save your best character for last. So I picked Toji first, and now I'm going to pick Aicho, which will, because again, like, with each fight, Kasumi's defense gets lower and lower. So I'm saving my best character, which is Fusuke, for last. But I do want to still put up a fight. I still want to try to like see if I can beat Kasumi as like the other characters. So it's not like the first game, whereas like with the first character I just said, okay, I'm just gonna lose anyway, then we just stop trying. Like, there's no stats involved here, like in terms of like leveling up or like RPG mechanics. It's more like, okay, I might as well try. That did a lot of damage, but that's okay because I do have 2 different strats with Fusuke now that you know, I'm doing this long play. Because before I did this long play, my strat was to stay full screen and just chuck tornadoes non-stop, and I actually do that here for half of the fight. So I'm just constantly using that move. I always dash back. Now, another important part about this fight, as you're doing his Fusuke super move and charging meter, always make sure you keep an eye on Kasumi. If he has more than half of his meter, that means he can do that super right there. And if he's close enough and it hits, that's going to do a lot of damage. Thankfully, your tornado actually hits him out of it, which is really good. Otherwise, like, regular projectiles would just hit him out, I think. Like, I should say he'll blow through them, I meant. So you just keep chucking the big tornado, and I think it's from here that I just start going back to the old tactic, where it's like, okay, well, if I just go back to air palming into the freaking, like, throw. And that's exactly what I did to win this fight. Really good. I'm glad I found out about this during the long play. I might have to edit the guide and add that as a note, as a strategy you can use as Fusuke, because I didn't know about this before the long play, so I'm glad I found that out. And yeah, that is Ninku 2 for the Game Gear. I don't really have much to say about the ending. The ending's pretty much like, it's the same as Ninku 1, you know? Like, you know, Kasumi loses, and like, Fusuke says, like, you know, there's still time to make up for what he did, like, you don't have to be evil. And yeah, the ending for this game is pretty much an amalgamation of like everyone. Well, at least except for Byakko. So, for example, I think soon you're gonna see a cutscene of like Sekirai, Mikira, and like all those people. I'll go over it as it goes along. But yeah, what can I say about this game? Well, it's definitely a step up fighting wise from the first game, but again, I still think it has things that hold it back. Like, it is a good game, don't get me wrong. I think it's decent for a sequel. But first off, if you've seen the playthrough of the first game, you know that there was a cliffhanger at the end which doesn't get resolved because we still don't face Kochin. Like, that's it, that was the final boss. And I thought maybe, okay, maybe it's because, like, I suck, right? Like, maybe if I do a no-death run and, like, you know, do auto-rate decisions or something like that, like, Kochin will pop up. But no, that didn't happen. Like, that's just, like, Kasumi's just the final boss. And yeah, these endings is just like a brief cutscene of everyone. Like, the main Nikun team is going to stop the Imperial Army. Kasumi is still going to, like, take some time of his own, like, to figure things out. Megkira is still wondering if the Ninku are truly the ones that, like, you know, burned down her homeland. Sakurai is still falling asleep as usual on the job. But yeah, that's about it. As usual, I hope you enjoyed this long play. And coming up is the final game of the video, which would be Ninku Gaiden Hiroyuki Daikatsugeki. Ninku Gaiden Hiroyuki Daikatsugeki is a refreshing break from the fighting games I've just went over. It's a puzzle game that's based off another puzzle game called Pengo, which was released in the arcades in 1982. In fact, it's almost the same as Pengo in terms of gameplay. Thankfully, Ninku Gaiden does just enough to make it stand out. Now let's go over the controls. Button 1 will fart, and button 2 is used to kick blocks. The fart cloud will stun enemies. The same goes for kicking a wall while an enemy is nearby it. You can defeat enemies by walking into them while they're stunned, or by kicking a block into them. The goal of Ninku Gaiden is to finish all fields to beat the game. Each field will have 4 stages filled with enemies, a puzzle stage that requires you to kick the blocks in the right places, and a unique boss battle. If a stage ever becomes unwinnable, you can pause the game and press all 3 buttons to use up a life to restart the stage. There are limited continues, but continuing will start you at the beginning of the field. Throughout the game, you will bump into new enemies and different kinds of blocks. The diamond blocks in particular are very important in this game. Not only do they grant bonus points, but in order to get the true final boss battle, you must line them up once in every stage. This can be rather difficult due to where they're positioned and having to avoid the enemies at the same time. If you're in a situation where it's impossible to line them up, you can always use the give up option, as that will reset all of the blocks and enemies. There's more to talk about during the long play. If you'd rather read about this game, you can check out the guide in the description below. Let's start Hiroyuki's adventure. Alright, and this is Ninku Gaiden Hiroyuki Daikatsugeki. I'm sorry. So, this is a bit more chill. It's more of a puzzle game. It's actually... I found this one a bit more difficult than the fighting games, to be honest, but in a fun way. Like, I know I'm saying this too early, but I think this might be better than the fighting games. I know that's weird to say, but mainly because, like... I don't know. The game hasn't started yet. I'm getting way too ahead of myself, and let me just go over the story first. The story is pretty simple. It actually takes place years before the events of the Ninku anime. Like, you know, with the, like, you know, with Fusuke going on a journey to stop the Imperial Army and all that. And this is technically a younger Hiroyuki, where he stumbles upon a town and he finds out from an old man that something in the castle is, like, controlling the animals and, like, making them go crazy. And, like, surely it must be the Ninku who are doing this. And then Hiroyuki's like, wait, nah, that's not possible, there's no way. And like Hiroyuki gets curious and decides to check for himself, like, to find out the truth. At least that's the best way I could sum it up. I might be completely wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what the story is. Like, something's making the animals and creatures go nuts. The dude on the right says that it's some, like, crazy machine at the castle or whatever. and it's like it's the Ninku's fault pretty much in a nutshell. And Hiroyuki's like, okay, let me find out for myself. Yeah, it's pretty much the plot. It's pretty simple. And yeah, I'm not really going to commentate for this one, mainly because like there isn't too much to explain that I haven't already said in like the intro. And also because it's a puzzle game, I do think that like the idea is simple. It's all about like watching the like how to do it and all that. In any case, this game, there are 5 different worlds with 5 stages in total, and in order to get the true final boss, you must line up all 3 diamond blocks, which are the red blocks you see there. So I am going to at least use this time to explain a few things I haven't explained yet. So you can see right here that I am trying to line up these diamond blocks. There we go. And when you do this, you get a big bonus and all enemies will be stunned. And again, if you want the true ending and the true final boss, you must do this for every single stage. So the enemies are stunned right there. I am going to kick them. While the enemies are stunned, you can't just walk into them instead. And of course, I didn't mention the farting. But it is something Hiroyuki does in the anime, so I can't say I'm surprised that that's his like main way of like stunning enemies. In any case, the goal is simple: just defeat all the enemies and then move on to the next stage. You have to do this for all of the stages, with the exception of the puzzle stages, which happen after 4 stages. So there's 4 stages in each world. Well, technically 5, but how can I say this? There's 4 stages first, right? And then you do a puzzle stage, so I guess that counts as 5. And then after that, you do a boss level. Now, if you manage to line up all the diamond blocks, you'll also get a bonus level, which will let you get some extra 1-ups and all that stuff. So, yeah, this game, really the hardest part is just trying to like line up the diamond blocks, because the thing is that like the enemies get, when too much time is spent trying to like finish the stage, it will say hurry, like hurry up. And the enemies will get faster and faster, and I'm pretty sure in this playthrough I lost 2 lives on one stage, and then I lost like 2 lives at the very end of the game. Like I was very close to like getting a no death run, but like I just like started panicking at a certain point and I just like lost my goal. But yeah, like the biggest problem is that, for me at least, is I'm fine with lining up the diamond block, like right there. It said hurry even though I just finished the stage. I'm fine with lining up the diamond blocks. My issue is when I'm doing this, and not only am I worrying about the enemies that are constantly moving around, and it's like, I hate situations where there's one enemy left, I'm about to line up the diamond block, and then I accidentally defeat that enemy, and like the stage ends, I didn't even get to like line the block up yet. Like that's the worst. So obviously I just try to like avoid as many of them as I can. Just kill a few just in case, so that I want to at least defeat a few of the enemies, so that when time's running out, not time's running out, but when they're going faster, there's not a ton of them that's going faster. I only have to worry about like 2 or 3 of them, right? Now, I don't mind multitasking. I don't mind like dealing with the diamond blocks and the enemies. My issue comes from when I'm doing all of that, and I'm also scared of the ricochet blocks right there, the springs, as I call them. When you kick a block into them, that block will bounce back, and unless you're far away when this happens, you don't have time to move out of the way. Once that block hits, like touches your hitbox, like Hiroyuki gets stuck, and he just gets squished once the block hits the wall. And it's just very easy to forget the springs are there. I'm pretty sure that's one of the ways I lost a life too. Like I just wasn't paying attention to everything, and I kicked the block into the spring, and then blank, I just got squished. It was done. Now another thing I should mention, it is cool that when you lose a life, it's still the same amount of enemies, and the blocks are still in like the same place as they were before you died. Which is really good, because that means that, in a sense, it makes the game much easier. But at the same time, if you're in a situation where you're trying to like line up the diamond blocks, and you screwed up the positioning, then what you should do is press 1, 2, and start in order to like use up a life. It will reset all of the enemies, but it'll also reset all of the blocks, so you will get another chance at like trying to like fix your mistake and see what went wrong. And yeah, with that, there's really not much else I have to say about this game. Mainly because, like, well, this could technically be said about like all the other long plays, but you get a good understanding just by watching it. I don't think you need me to explain this game to you. It is pretty simple in a sense. Like any curveballs I'm thinking about is pretty like self-explanatory just by watching it. In any case, I will definitely the story is like there's extra cutscenes. Like you'll see a cutscene every now and then with like Hiroyuki meets one of the ninjas, one of the Ninku, and then Hiroyuki enters. No, the way the cutscenes go is simple. I'll actually explain it throughout this part right here. So after you defeat 4 stages, you get a cutscene of Hiroyuki bumping into a puzzle. And then after that puzzle, you get a cutscene of him bumping into the Ninku that's related to the field. So you'll see that in a bit. And this is the puzzle cutscene. After that is after the cutscene with the Ninku is a boss fight, and then if you lined up all the 3 diamond blocks for each stage, you get a cutscene of Hiroyuki finding a bonus room. And that's pretty much how the cutscenes, like, that's the structure of this game in a nutshell. 4 stages, cutscene, puzzle, cutscene, boss level, and if you did all of the right diamond blocks, like lined them all up, cutscene, and then bonus room, and then like you clear the field. Say the puzzle stages, you have to put all the blocks in the squares. I already made a video on all of the solutions because the way it works is that each field has one, like it'll load 1 of 5 unique puzzles. So chances are if you're playing this yourself, then the puzzle you get might be different than the one you're seeing here. And if you do need a solution, I made a complete video on that. I'll probably put the link in the description. And you can see all the puzzle solutions there, and you'll probably find the one that you're on right now. And this is a cutscene with the Ninku. This is actually Kasumi. Obviously, like, these Ninku are younger since these take place in the past. And yeah, coming up is a boss fight. The bosses are pretty self-explanatory, except for I think the third boss was a bit confusing at first. I was actually stuck for a bit, but once I figured it out, it was actually not that bad. Anyway, this boss is pretty easy. You just wait for the slug to pop up. The slug will hide. I should say the snail. It will hide if it's looking at you. So what you want to do is like make sure it's not in your line of sight, and then that will be your opportunity to deal damage by kicking a block into it. Now if you need more blocks, you can just look at it in the face, and then it will just make blocks spawn as it's hiding in its shell. So you see me doing that right here. Just wait for a few more to spawn on the bottom first. There we go, and then yeah, just use whatever blocks you have there and use it to defeat the boss. Pretty easy. By the way, this boss theme is really freaking good. I love it. It's one of my favorite tracks of the game. Yeah, I will say that too. Some of the music in this game is really good. And yeah, because I lined up all 3 diamond blocks, there is a bonus stage coming up, which is pretty cool. And these bonus stages are will be very helpful if you're just getting into this, because you can find like extra lives, and getting points also grant you an extra life, and you're gonna need them if you want to, like, you know, like you're close to beating a stage and you lose a life, and now, you know, you respawn and now you have more time to like finish that stage. So if you lose all your lives, you do get game over. You have infinite continues, but using a continue will make you start at the beginning of the field. So honestly, I think it's more of a case of like, if you don't care about the true boss or the true ending, it's whatever, right? But because you're continuing, that obviously means that you're gonna have to line up all of the diamond blocks again. So it's much better to just like have as many lives as possible as you're going through the game, and then just using them up, or, you know, like not using them up, but like now you have so much room for error as you go along with the game. Whereas when you use a continue, you only have like 3 to 4 lives. Alright, so yeah, from here, there's not much else for me to talk about. There are also going to be like some different kind of like blocks and springs, like ones that will like point an arrow where if you kick a block to it, it will send the block in that direction, and all that stuff. Other than that, it's pretty simple. I don't have to say much more than that. The rest of this playthrough is going to be me like lining up the blocks and clearing the stages, along with like a couple of deaths. I think that happens in the 3rd world, which is a forest. And yeah, you know what? I'll be back for when we get up to the... You know what? If anything, I'll talk over the bosses at least in order to clear that up. So yeah, with that said, I'll see you later, or I should say I'll see you when we get up to the boss battle. Alright, so this boss is, if you know what to do, it's actually not that bad. It will have two pincers, and what you have to do is destroy these pincers with the... Why am I getting, like, confused on a block? You gotta destroy them with the block, and then you can kick the boss in the middle, open its mouth, and you have to kick the blocks into its mouth in order to deal damage. Now, the cool part is that you see that the pincers were spawning, like they was blinking in and out before they actually start moving. If you hit the pincers as they're spawning, it will actually count as you hitting them, so the minute they quote-unquote spawn in, they'll instantly get destroyed. So I should have enough time to get 2 hits. Now, when the boss is at 2 health points, the pattern will change. So I'm going to immediately kick it while it's spawning to destroy the right one, cool. And now they'll go left and right. Now, when you're in its line of sight, when you, like, with the claw, I should say the pincer, it will charge down at you. And then it'll slowly go back up. So the trick here is to, like, wait until you get some blocks to spawn in the middle, because you need them to be in the middle in order to hit the boss. And then you want to kick the pincer, and then 1, 2. And another strategy you can use is to, like, bait the pincer down. Get in its line of sight, make it charge down and get out the way. And then use that time to hit the pincer before it goes back up. So overall, not a bad boss fight. And now coming up is a treasure room, and then we will enter the forest area. Alright, so the forest boss is actually easy if you know what to do. If you don't, then you might be stuck here for a few minutes wondering like, okay, how the heck do I deal damage to this thing? So occasionally it'll shoot a block, and then what you have to do is, after it shoots a block, it will look left and right. What you have to do is be in its line of sight as it's looking left and right, and when it does, it will start charging at you, and only while it's charging at you can you actually damage the boss. So obviously the strategy is kick some blocks up first. I like to keep it safe when he's at half HP because the lower his health gets, the faster he goes, and like unless you're perfect, I don't think you can get away with kicking 2 blocks at the boss without like getting hit yourself because he's moving faster and faster. So you just kick 1 block up, get in his line of sight, kick the block at it, and to deal damage. Pretty easy boss, really. And again, you can only damage it while it's charging at you. If you try kicking a block into it, otherwise it won't count. But other than that, not too bad. And as usual, coming up is a bonus stage, and then we will enter the mountain field. The mountain boss is a bit harder than the forest boss. So when it's flying around, it would drop at least one egg that turns into a bird, and this bird will follow you like to your current location. So you just have to keep moving in order to avoid it. Now after it throws down a few blocks, you can then hit the boss when it lands. Now you can see that it landed right there, right? Now for the rest of this fight, it will always land there, and the only exception is if like you kick a block into that specific part of the map. But other than that, like as long as you remember where it lands, all you have to do is just make sure you have to lure it to drop blocks in that same lane. So you can see that I made it drop 2 blocks there, and what I'm trying to do now is make it drop a few more blocks there. So 1, 2, I think that's good enough because I only need 2 more hits. And at this point, I'm just waiting for it to drop the egg so I can get ready to dodge the bird that spawns. Ooh, that was close. Okay. And then just 1, 2, and the boss is done. So yeah, this is another situation where if you know where to lure it to, like with the blocks and all that, you know how to dodge the bird, it really isn't that hard. I'd say it's slightly harder than the forest boss, but not by much. And now coming up is the final area of the game, which is the castle, but first, a bonus level. And now it's time for the quote-unquote final boss of the game. So the castle boss is actually the machine, and supposedly this supercomputer is the one controlling the animals. We gotta stop it. So what you have to do here is wait for these, you see these 4 panels or whatever, you have to destroy them as they're glowing. They glow in a pattern, I think it gets faster the more you destroy. So it's all about timing here. And when you see them glow, you have to make sure a block makes contact with them as they're glowing. So it's really just timing, and after you destroy them, the boss will go into a frenzy. And from here, what you have to do is simply hit the boss with the blocks. You can only hit the boss with like the 2 blocks in the middle, so you kind of have to like wait for it to spawn there. There he goes, that's 1, that's 2, and then the 3rd one's coming down. Yep. So yeah, you just gotta wait, or you can like kick a block to the middle and then try to kick it from there. It is easy to get distracted and like have a block fall on you, which will cost a life, but other than that, not a bad boss. If you lined up all 3 diamond blocks in each stage, there is 1 more fight left, as well as a new cutscene. Alright, final boss time. This is actually the true final boss of the game, which is the one who said, oh, the Ninku did all this, when it was actually him trying to put the blame on the Ninku. Now, I'm not ashamed to admit, in fact, I actually left this in the video. I did die twice in this boss fight. And actually, one of the reasons I died is because he did a move I've never seen before. I wasn't expecting him to do it. Maybe I should have expected it since it's similar to what the forest boss does. But other than that, even though I did lose 2 lives here, the fight isn't too bad. Really, the main problem is, as you lower his HP, he would get more and more orbs, like, going around him. These can... Yeah, that was my fault. I was impatient. I should have just waited and dodged the hook first. And that's why I got defeated there. So the way it works is that he will occasionally he will look around. If you're close enough, he will shoot the hook at you. If you're very far away, he will instead launch a block to a random location. Now, what I didn't know is that there's also a 3rd check, and that's actually how I lost a life in this section. So it's gonna happen soon, but I won't mention it yet. But yeah, other than that, really all you have to do to damage him is to kick blocks into him. And to do this, you have to make sure you don't kick it into the orb, because again, they destroy boxes. So because they destroy the boxes, they get your attack. So make sure you time your attacks carefully. Another good boss scene, by the way. Yeah, I was really close to defeating him. I don't know what happened. I got very, very impatient, and I didn't know that if you go to, yeah, like I missed time. Not only did I miss time my attack, and that the orb stopped it, but he actually looked in my direction and immediately charged at me, similar to the boss in the forest. But yeah, other than that, this boss isn't too bad, and coming up soon will be the ending. that was Ninku Gaiden Hiroyuki Daikatsugeki for the Game Gear. Now, coming up is one more, at the end of this credits would be one more scene where Hiroyuki meets the master of the Ninku, and like, master actually wants to join the Ninku, which is a pretty cool, like, cliffhanger in a sense, since Hiroyuki does end up joining Fusuke in his journey. But yeah, what can I say about all of these Ninku games, really? I mean, Ninku 1, it was the first game. I think it's pretty interesting. I did like the RPG mechanics and all that. I do think it's way too grindy for a game that repetitive, so it's okay. It's average. I don't think it's a bad game. Ninku 2, it did improve on Ninku 1, but the fighting at, like, it was 1995, so even though it's on a Game Gear, so I can't expect too much from it. I do think it's a bit limited, but other than that, it's a fun game, especially, and I'm sure it'd be fun if I play against someone else. This game, pretty solid. I actually think it's one of the better Ninku games, just because but to be fair, it's technically a copy paste of Pingo, so I can't really give it that much of a compliment since it's technically the same game, but with like some differences. But it's still a good game. I like this one. The Saturn game, it should have been so much more, man. It just should have been so much more. I think I'll leave it at that. Like, if you like the Saturn game, cool, but I expected more from something on that kind of hardware from 1996. Anyway, this was a very long video. That's the password for the puzzle mode. I am tired. These games, man. But you know what? I did enjoy playing through all of them. Even if like Ninku 1 was driving me crazy with how long it was taking, but a pretty interesting series altogether. I'm glad I was able to do this, and with all of that said, I'll see you later.